He did that mistake that you suffered. But you are the one right now still sitting here, not forgiving, suffering. What does it mean if you don't find a way to let it go? It remains with you and you suffer with it. It's your choice. What is the alternative?
Today's interview is with Master Shi Heng Yi of the Shaolin Temple Europe. This is an interview that we've been holding on to for a while now, and we're so excited to share the full piece with you guys. Today's video was made possible at MulliganBrothers.com, and if you want to support us, head to the link in the description, and that is how we fly our film crew around the world to be able to speak to people like Master Shi Heng Yi. The brand new Momentum Warrior poster is also there with the link in the description. It is a poster with 80 years worth of tiny little squares that represent a week of your life, and you shade each week in as you go. I have mine shaded into 30 years, and every single morning on a Monday morning, I'll come in and shade another one. And it is a reminder that you are going to die. And as morbid as that sounds, it is one of the most powerful tools that I have been using over the last year. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you want to be reminded that you are going to die, head to the link in the description and use code STOIC at checkout for 10% off the posters. And also you can get the Inspire Change t-shirts, hoodies, and so much more with the link in the description, where all the profits go back to creating this content. And also, if you want to support Master Shi Heng Yi, head over to shaolin.online. But before that, one of my favorite conversations that I've had with Master Shi Heng Yi, we do have 6 more hours worth of interviews coming out over the next year with Master Shi Heng Yi. So if that sounds interesting, also hit the notification bell and subscribe. But before that, let's dive into this beautifully long conversation with Master Shi Heng Yi. Let's dive into the video.
So I've asked you this so many times now, but I'm sure many people do know who you are on the channel, but for those who don't know who you are, just introduce yourself and what you do.
Yes. So my name is Shi Heng Yi. Currently, I'm the leading headmaster of the Shaolin Temple Europe, which is a Buddhist monastery located here in Otterberg, Germany. And in the tradition of the Shaolin arts, we are trying to pass on this teaching to a wider audience, which means that, for example, inside this monastery here, we are having disciples, novices, and master students that are actually living together with us. Day in, day out, receiving all of these teachings in order to one day be able to really full-heartedly share these things out. So these are the people who receive all of this knowledge with that direct transmission. But at the same time, we also have people that either don't have the financial possibilities to, let's say, visit us here in the monastery, and therefore also this possibility right now to have the chance and share some of these methods through the different online channels is also something where I think it belongs to the modern times we're in right now, because it doesn't matter through which channel people are getting the message. For right now, the focus of me and the focus for this organization is first of all that there are things which need to come out right now, as fast as possible, and that's it.
For us, that's a very similar message that we want to put out there. Is we feel that there's a lot of things that need to be said, a lot of inspiration that people need, and we want to put that out there. That's why we've come to you. Last year we had such a great response from the content that you was putting out with us. I think because of the setting that we're in, this is a nice question to open with, and I want to open with like trying to find light within the darkness, or trying to find hope in difficult times.
Okay. So let's start taking this question quite literally, meaning it's too dark. So the result of if something is too dark is it's very difficult to actually distinguish anything. What are your possibilities in the darkness? Because you don't see any direction, you don't see objects in the darkness. So what therefore the approach is, what therefore I think must be done, is no matter which method you're using, you need to light up that space. So either you find a way to really light up that space so that in such a way that darkness slowly disappears and you slowly start to see what is in that room, what is in that space. That is the first possibility. Or the second one would be that you are developing yourself and are equipping yourself with some type of skills that gives you better abilities to see in the dark. And that can now mean, to translate this, sometimes when we are talking about seeing, we often relate it to the eyes, of course. But now there are different type of martial arts that already know sometimes things are going too fast. So fast that it's not advisable to only rely your actions upon what your eyes are able to perceive. So that's why now we are increasing sensibility and sensitivity in other areas of ourselves, which means the sensitivity of your touch, the sensitivity of realizing noise. Yeah? And that means in the Chinese martial arts, for example, there are different methods that are training certain skills. The skills to better listen. But listening, this time not meaning listening with the ears, listening while touching and being in contact with the person. That means the sensitivity increases of how you are starting to perceive your counterpart, let's say. And now translating this into the question, how can someone now who finds himself in this type of darkness, so what can he do? And there I can really only say there are a lot of different methods out there. And every door needs one certain key. Sometimes the Shaolin methods are not always the proper ones to just be offered to anyone. Sometimes it just doesn't fit. But the principle behind all of this is, see, this feeling of darkness in the way, this feeling of something is, it's closed to you. So if I right now just replace that word darkness with the term that something is closed, the possibilities are closed because there's nothing to see. You don't know what to do. So what are we doing in the different methods now in the Shaolin Temple? Number one step is open the body or open the human. Open the human not only in terms of physically opening, meaning stretch open the muscles, stretch open the tendons, stretch open the ligaments, open really the body, open the lungs, that more oxygen can come in. But also means open the mind. Open the mind meaning to stop, to realize whenever you are in a way limiting your views, for example, limiting your own perspective. And by regularly practicing, every day we have exercises to open the body. Every day we take care that we are opening and stay with the open mind. This openness after time is something that we are then starting to incorporate into our being, into our daily life. And this is what opens then the doors again. The more open you become, the more you will see once again the possibilities that are out there. And now, practically speaking, what should you do? Increase the level of activity. That is like, if you want to have a one straight answer, if somebody finds himself in a too dark place, increase the amount of activity. Which means spend a lot of time outside while the sun is shining where there are a lot of people. The opposite is you're in a dark place and you stay at home in your four walls. For some time, it's sometimes necessary, but this is not going to be the solution. So that means if you by yourself cannot create that light, then we have to somehow try that the circumstances on the outside help you, support you a little bit along this way. And it can be quite similar being also seen with this monastery. If everybody would have the ability to bring out the self-discipline, you don't need like disciplinary masters. Meaning you don't need a monastery also that takes care that you are keeping that external rules and the external structure. But like for example today, all the young guys that came, if they would already be so self-disciplined that they know exactly what they can do, what they cannot do, if they want to achieve something that they just focus on that, if they knew all of these things, well then they don't need this monastery anymore. But the point is that no human being, or a few, let's say, or very little, it's difficult sometimes if you are surrounded with different environments to always remind yourself back again. What is the state of being to keep on walking? And therefore, if it is not existing in the beginning coming from yourself, that's why we need sometimes external support. And the same goes for the question if somebody finds himself in that place of darkness. Either you find a way that you can find some light in there and then make it shine brighter from day to day. Or you need support. And this support at the same time can also mean I think it makes sense to say that if you are looking for external support, you need to find the persons that already solved this problem, that already went through that darkness, that already had been in that darkness. Because if somebody has never been there, what are the answers, what are the solutions this person giving you? From which fundament are they coming? On behalf of which basis? So that means sometimes the answers to such questions, they must come from someone who already had experience in that area. Because all other things are sometimes assumptions, book knowledge, which doesn't mean it's wrong, but it still is quite different. If you are talking sometimes to people where you know they went through something, this is not talk. It's talk from their experience. Yeah.
I want to take it to the disciples and bring it back to what happens at the core of this monastery. And for me, we're talking about sort of difficult times in people and hard times. And I see such a routine and consistency and, everybody's got their roles here and responsibilities. How important is it, first of all, to have those roles and responsibilities? But typically, what would somebody who visits the temple or becomes a disciple, what does their routine look like and how does that affect them as a person?
So as a general explanation, I have to start like this, that this monastery, or the way in how we are trying to, let's say, share something, the way how we are sharing knowledge, it's not normally by giving out something. That sounds now very strange, but disciples who come here, our guests that are coming here, it's not that they are coming here in order to wait and to receive something, meaning, to be honest, there is nothing in a way besides talking to them that I normally try to give them. The reason why I do talk to people that come here is because my aim is to take something away from them. And the whole approach of this Buddhist monastery, of this ancient way of teaching, let's say, it's different to what you see nowadays in the world, because it seems like it's always about adding something more. You are learning something because you think you are missing it. You are going to another country because you think you are missing that experience. You are trying out another type of food because you think you are missing that taste. So that means the general idea, which is at the moment existing, is every time when we as humans feel something is lacking, the answer is just consume more, which means just go out and look where are you going to find something that is going to fill up that gap, to fill up that hole that you are feeling. That is the approach that we have outside, which means something is missing, no problem, somewhere out there it is, you just pay the money and then you're going to get it. But by observing this type of behavior, I think you can see that no matter how much you consume, no matter how much of these offerings you are taking, you never become full. It's always only a question of time until your new desire starts to arise. It always just fills that small gap, that small hole for a short moment. And after observing this type of pattern over and over again, of course also with myself, of course then also within the field of my family and friends. And then you see it just everywhere. Then comes up that question, okay, so if this pattern is continuously repeating, what is the way out? Well, definitely it's not by adding something on top of it, meaning by joining this type of approach and being again one of these, I don't know how to say, one of these organizations to give you something. This is not about giving. It's about taking. It's about taking away everything that is in front of a person's eye that has covered up the clear view upon how this world, how your internal nature, how your emotions, your mindset is all connected with each other. So the reason why I talk, which seems like I'm giving out something, no, I'm not giving out. I'm just saying something in order for you yourself to let something fall, to realize for yourself that there was something in the mind, there was a concept, a belief system, a way of thinking inside of you all the time already, that maybe now you realize that one has no fundament anymore. Actually, it is blocking me more than it actually does help me. So, and why I had to bring out now this extended explanation is because everything inside this monastery from the moment on when a disciple arrives here is based upon exactly that type of structure. It is about taking everything away from that disciple. The way of how he's thinking, the way how he is moving, all of this. Because once the cup is empty, now it can be filled up again. So that means the initial stages, now regardless whether it's a disciple or if it is new guests that are coming to visit us. Of course, we know that these are guests that maybe also have paid some contribution fee to join here. So of course we know they are guests. Therefore, sometimes in this Western world now, I have to say that I have to find the balance between being gentle and nice to the people, but at the same time keep the right teaching method with them. And the right teaching method means you are not paying to come here in order for me to be nice to you. You come here because you want to learn something. And I observe you and I try to figure out what is it that might be the key that you learn to let go of something. And this letting go is of course going to be uncomfortable. Why? Because it is something that no one normally in this world already started to teach you. In our school systems, in no matter what system, you don't find the subject how to let go. You find the subject how to get more. And so that means in that moment when people are getting confronted the first time with this type of teachings, it's uncomfortable. But it is very similar, like at least when I try to compare it, many people can criticize you probably. But if your father criticizes you, it has a different value. Yes? It hits deeper. And similar like this feeling that suddenly something has hit really deep, has packed the core. This is the essence of what we call the Zen teachings, the Chan teachings, where the Shaolin Temple belongs into. These are the teaching methods, meaning getting out of the comfort zone is part of the process. If I realize somebody already starts to feel like very confident again, yeah, very bright, then I know, okay, it's time to shut him down again. Yes, and so someone is always confronted between here, then he's brought down. Then he gets methods how he will build himself up again. Then he gets smashed down again. And so it continues. Until you think, sometimes it's also very paradox, that it seems like, yeah, Shifu, last week you said I should do like this. So you told me to go in this direction. There. Today I'm asking you the same question, but you are telling me I should go in that direction. And I said, yes, true. Yeah, and 3 weeks after, Shifu, now you tell me 3 different things. This direction, that direction, and then once again, you're telling me in this direction. And then people say, now, what type of teaching method is that? It is for you to figure out yourself after you have wandered between the different extremes that are existing. First, I push you in that direction. Then you walk. Then I tell you other direction. Then you walk there. Then maybe we change again. Then you walk back there. Until you realize it's not here and it's not here. It's all of that. That's possible. And this is like really something special, I have to say, that it's working sometimes. These type of methods are working at such subconscious and psychological level that I really appreciate that it is like this. And it's interesting. So, and ultimately, what for? Why should a disciple go through all of these, this type of education? One thing, therefore is very practical, because I think around, I'm not sure, 5 or 6 years before, we still had, for example, civil services or military services here in Germany. But meanwhile, it's not existing anymore that you have to join. You can just freely choose. So that means when somebody goes to school, finishes school after his high school degree, he normally can now choose what he will do. Either a voluntary year somewhere, before the military or the civil services, but that all fell apart. So that was also the time where we were thinking, okay, maybe let's offer this idea of a discipleship. So people, instead of going to the military, they go 2 years into the monastery, or 1 year. Because this is the time to retreat and to start discovering yourself. Discovering what type of a person you are, what type of character you are. And just to reset yourself for whatever is going to come afterwards. Because honestly speaking, I also know, and it has also shown now in the last 11 years since we are having this type of education, that from all the 35, 40 disciples that meanwhile crossed this temple, we only have 5 left from them. So that means the amount of even the disciples that ultimately extend the stay is also very, very little. That's not a reason to give up, but at least we know that there is a reason why nowadays are not many Shaolin temples existing anymore. Because it's simply not a way for everyone, and especially not if you are trying to walk it from beginning until end. Yes.
I'm still kind of amazed that over 55 people dedicated years to this, but they still weren't able to. They still couldn't make that last thing. It's so to be a disciple who's still here, must take so much dedication and commitment to being here. Really interesting. 1 in 1,000. I really like that number. I really love that. Last time we spoke, a lot of the content that was really well received was the idea of the warrior monk, the warrior mindset, and I think it was interpreted really well. It wasn't just that people took it for the idea of having to be a warrior and that's it. I think they managed to find both sides of it. But I would love to expand more on that sort of the warrior mindset and why it's important to have that lethality to you as well, and to be able to have that in as like something. I think you've spoke about it before. Is like it's something that you can have but not use. But yeah, I'm interested to just hear more on the warrior mindset and sort of the warrior itself.
Good. Yes, I want to try and maybe find another word or find some explanations where you can see it's a different mindset which is out of the norm. Let's start like this. I think in one of the previous videos, I showed you how it feels when you are starting to touch hands with someone who has hardened his bones. Now there is the saying that you can only transmit, you can only give out what you have, which not only goes for the different terms when we talked about the character of the heart, or the hard qualities, but which also means now in terms of the martial art field. You can only give out pain to another person when you yourself have received that pain before. So what does it mean? It means if I start to do some type of training, no matter what it is, at a certain point I am reaching my level where I either feel the exhaustion, or sometimes I'm also feeling the level of pain that I'm able to take. And now the question is, what are you going to do exactly at this borderline? And a mindset that I think is paying off later, big times, is when you're starting to incorporate into your daily life, into the daily perspective and understanding that this world has not been created for you to only enjoy the peaceful aspects about it. Regardless of where you are born, with which, let's say, prerequisites you have been born into this world, everyone is going to face challenges. These are different challenges, but you are going to face them, because living this life is ultimately connected with challenges. The question is, how are you now going to deal with it? What can you do knowing that you're gonna walk this lifetime and you will have challenges? Mental challenges, physical challenges. And there I can only come up with an answer. Prepare yourself. Prepare and condition the mind in such a way that you are first of all not starting to run away. There are two things in that, let's say, warrior mindset, if you call it like this, to be avoided. Number one is to run away. Because running away means that whatever just came into your life, you can't learn from it anymore, because there is again distance between that new situation and yourself. And at the same time, there is no connection, meaning you can't have an influence on it. So therefore, number one, face it. Number one, face it. And number two now, and this is also a quite difficult part, no one is born as a superhero. And nobody is naturally born as being a strong and confident personality. These are things that from time to time, from situation to situation, start to emerge from inside of you, because it's growing inside of you based on how you are behaving towards yourself.
If you're enjoying this amazing conversation with Master Shi Heng Yi, please head over to MulliganBrothers.com to support us there.
And now, after finding yourself in a situation that is challenging to you, it also takes a different type of mindset to also be able to say that I'm not well prepared enough. I'm not good enough at the moment to take that challenge. And afterwards, prepare. So that means, number one, don't run away. And number two, be honest to yourself. Those two things, if you keep them in mind and then just put time, effort into practice, I think is the key to step by step build something up about yourself, about your life, about your character and personality that will give you some strong fundament in order to tackle everything that this world is going to throw at you. The two things to keep in mind is you do not look away when challenges come, and number two is you don't blame yourself if at that moment in time you are not able to face it. The only thing you're going to do is you step back, you take time for yourself, you invest the work and prepare yourself to return. Yes, and that means this is an attitude that very often inside the training within the Shaolin Temple, we're trying to tickle that out from our students, tickle that out from ourselves. Just because sometimes people relate to us as being like masters, it only means we understood something. We are not superhuman. We are not perfect. But I know that every time I face something and I feel, okay, I'm not good enough at the moment, at least I know what needs to be done. And so for me, in a way, every time I face something, every time I'm being exposed to a new challenge, every time when I feel it's a challenge, it only tells me there again is a chance now to grow, let's say. Now, of course, some people might say, yeah, but what's the point of this growing? What do you mean by growing? Why would I always need to accept every challenge just for the sake of growing? Because this growing is the opposite of something is decreasing, something is dying, something is closing up. To grow, to open up, is the same as to bring light into the things. It doesn't matter what challenges it is that you are facing there. It is the fundamental principle behind it that you do not run away. That you are open for everything that is being thrown at you. It is this type of mindset to also understand, I didn't ask for an easy life. I take what comes. If it leaves, I let it pass. Yes.
I love the idea of those hard times of developing a mindset. And I mean, we've spoke about this for years, about developing a mindset as seeing those as opportunities for growth, to see challenges as opportunities for growth.
Maybe there, no. Something comes up again. And at the same time now, like looking out at in the society, I also think that sometimes this strong mindset is also not existing anymore because of the lack of movement. So because it's very simple. Look, even in the disciplines that you are practicing, lifting the weights, there is that moment where the animal comes out. There is that moment where it's like your animal instinct comes out, which is producing suddenly more of this power. There is something which wants to push through it. In the different methods of what we are practicing here, there are also things to call out this type of instinct. But now, the MMA fighters, they have it. Everybody who practices this type of physical activity that at some point is related to a very high extent of energy, let's say. You have that moment where you need to push yourself to bring out that energy, to bring out that fire. But if your daily work, if your daily week is only sitting in front of your desk and doing, I don't know, office work, that fire doesn't come out. And if it comes out, it goes in the wrong direction. It goes in the direction of the head. It goes into the head because you're angry about something. But this fire of angriness and the fire of motivation are two different ones. Because the fire of angriness is something you cannot, in a way, control. But the fire of motivation, the fire of trying to achieve something for a better version of yourself, is something that if you practice it long enough, you can recall it. Because you have that fire inside of you. And this is where I also think that sentence, strong mind goes together with strong body. I think there is a similarity with it. Because you cannot reach to have a strong body if there is not the fuel behind it that gave you the push, the motivation to do so in order that you finally develop in that direction. So, and a lot of different jobs that are existing nowadays, or let's say the lifestyle, it is the lack of movement, it is that lack of physicality, and therefore also the lack of that mindset. That when hard times come, you just push through. And yes.
When I'm lifting weights, or we're going for maybe a long run or something really, really difficult that's testing the body, that it does feel very animalistic. It almost gets quite instinctive. Is there any ancient philosophies or anything that sort of encapsulates that, especially with the Shaolin training and the Kung Fu and the fighting aspect of it? Is there anything that sort of encapsulates that?
Yes. I think in the field of Kung Fu, if you start to get into this field, you will realize pretty quickly that there are, for example, animal styles. So, and now I have to say, to be cautious. There are ways and styles that call themselves animal styles, and when you look at what is being performed, it also has some similarities definitely to that animal that, for example, you're representing. But nevertheless, sometimes we are also in this trend, meanwhile, that a lot of things are to show off, which means looks like a tiger, but that's about it. Looks like a tiger, but doesn't feel like a tiger. Doesn't have the characteristics like a tiger. And so the best example I can just talk about is when you look at monkey styles. I know two different types of monkey style. The one that is being performed in the modern way of the Shaolin Kung Fu. And I have witnessed a monkey style which is different. Yeah, many people you just need to look for the monkey fist in Taiwan. Monkey fist in Taiwan. This is Grandmaster Zhang Yushan, the one I mentioned a few more times already before. And the reason why I, for example, searched contact to that Grandmaster was because I saw something that I have not seen before. And this is not that he's moving like a monkey. And it's something different. It is something that changes from 1 second to the next, and now it's finished. Now is end of the story. Something has dramatically changed there. And now even if I try to talk about it like this, I cannot express it. Yeah, but I think there are many documentaries also already out from him that people will find if they're interested. But his way of what an animal style really means, it means that you have methods that are bringing out very, very animalistic and deep-rooted instincts about yourself. I can only guess why it is like this. But one difference maybe between animals, or when you are tapping back into your subconscious or instinctive mind, what it means is there's only one thing your instinct wants: survive. There's nothing else. It's survive. And so everything, in the moment you're tapping into your instinctive realm, everything is activated. Everything is activated to fulfill that mission. And now, we as humans, that's the next wonder, is that we can tap into both worlds, if you know how. And the main idea is that we finally have methods to unleash something inside of yourself. This is the one that makes sometimes people reach levels that are beyond understanding. You heard the stories about women who were afraid of their child and starting to lift cars and stuff like this. I think there is something about it that has nothing to do with thinking. Something is being unleashed there. And what these ancient methods, what also part of our research, let's say, is to find out how can we make this type of knowledge, these type of powers, how can we make this for the benefit of us and the benefit of the rest of the world? How can we tap into this type of knowledge without this being just like a coincidence? Because apparently it is possible. Oftentimes you saw these things already. You saw the different abilities people can do just by conditioning their body. So what is all of this mindset? All of these sharings, all of these methods, what is all of this about? It is hopefully about that the next generations who come after us are not going to be weaker than us. They should be a stepped up next generation, next level human. But this is only possible if you do not neglect everything, all the researches that have been done already in the past. No, sometimes it's always about modern technology, look into the future. Yes, of course, but there are some questions you don't need to reinvent the wheel again. They have been thousands and thousands of times already been discussed, thought about, and there's a whole bunch of knowledge behind it. And sometimes it makes sense, first of all, look what is already out there and existing before starting to add something which is just pretty pointless. And so on the one side, having access to knowledge, merging it together with the right mindset, how you personally look upon walking and spending this lifetime of yours. Those two things coming together, I think, carry a huge possibility that you can unleash something special about yourself. This is the main point to share. This is the reason why I share. Because I think everybody can be more than he thinks he is right now. And you do not depend on anyone to tell you or to give you any type of certification, any type of graduation. I don't think you need this to become big. Everything you need to become big is there. It's just you need the right methods and you need the mindset to make it grow, that fire. And at least I still think there is some positivity out everywhere. And everyone has that fire. And it's always just in the moment you realize you have that fire, then you need to stay with it. Cultivate it, day in, day out. And when it starts growing, it's a different life.
It's interesting that you was talking about in modern day that some of that's getting lost amongst people. Ancient teachings, old teachings are getting lost. And one of the questions we had a lot from people is about what it is to be a man and the identity of that, and you know what that means, because at the moment it seems like a lot of people are confused, and I think we have a lot of young men watch our channel. In fact, it's the highest viewership is I think it's between 20 and 25 young men who watch these videos, and a lot of them are confused of how they're supposed to conduct themselves, how they're supposed to be. I'd love to know like your opinion on that.
I mean, actually, in a way, it's a funny question, because I'm sure a lot of your audience is going to look at me and ask, yeah, but he's staying in the temple. He doesn't have a woman. How does he know how to be a man? But I have some experience before. So let's start with there. I think some basic ideas is, before a woman makes her hands dirty, your hands become dirty. Second one means you learn some basic rules how to behave when let's say when you're surrounded with females, which means you learn what is the etiquette of behaving with women. The way if you walk in front, if you walk behind, if you hold up the door, how you enter the house, how you leave the house. I think especially in the UK, I mean, you have very nice and gentle rules for all of this. How to be a gentleman. I think hidden in such small details is already the beginning that of course there is some type of equality between men and women. Yeah, that you're both human. And afterwards, in a way, it ends. Because male have a male body and female have a female body. The body by nature already was, let's say, developed to fulfill different functions. So when you have been given already that male body, made to take stress, made to work, made to move, I think you should do this definitely. Which means you need to do some activities to build yourself up and look manly and dress manly. This is not about judging if somebody prefers to wear a different way of outfit, a different way of fashion. But inside, if you want to bring something out that feels male, you just copy what masculinity means for you. And one of these things I would say is get your hands dirty, behave as a gentleman, and if you say something, do it. You don't change your opinion 5 times. Even if you know that was probably not the wisest one, but it's not good, you know. As a male, I would say, if you are seeming undecided. I don't want to put everyone into one box, okay? So just to say that in advance. But female have abilities we males don't have. For females, it's way easier to connect. That's one of the things. They are more easy to directly open up, or already be open maybe all the time, to be connected with their surroundings. What it automatically means is their level of empathy is much higher. They sense more than an untrained male. The male is like focused. Yeah? And so this is something that also, if you want to increase this type of quality, then I think this is what you should do. You don't jump around too much. You are not undecided. Before you talk, you think. Before you talk, you think. You don't just let it flow out. But once it is said, it's backed up with action. And yes. But like I also said before, I think there is a history in all of us which cannot be changed, which means where we come from, what type of genes has been given to us. Yes. But at the same time, I also think that everyone in this world is absolutely free to express themselves in whatever way they feel like. It's just the fact that I can also see that some virtues, not even virtues that are being represented from the Shaolin Temple, but general virtues within the society are starting to too much become mixed up and starting also to like disappear. And therefore, I think it was a really good question to sometimes pay attention to the fact that what has been given to you sometimes needs some care. And that masculinity has or is connected to some type of behavior and to some type of action that when you more often practice them, more often do them, when it becomes your habit, automatically a different quality starts to emanate from you. Yeah.
I think if we're looking back into, not even far into history, but it was very common to have figureheads or role models, mentors, and I feel like that's changed a lot recently, and people maybe don't have that structure anymore. I also see yourself as you literally take pilgrimage to go see your masters or mentors to gain knowledge and wisdom from them and learn lessons from them. How important is it to have mentors or masters or people that we can learn from and take knowledge from?
Okay. It's impossible to walk this path only by yourself. Forget it. Everyone has the possibility to unlock something very, very special about him or herself. And it's up to your actions. Ultimately, it's you yourself who also is able to unlock it. The only problem is that sometimes you need the key to unlock it. It's not that you cannot do it. The problem is only you don't know how. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to look. And this is why sometimes in this lifetime you are meeting someone that we call a teacher, that we sometimes call a master. And why is it that we then start to follow that master? Because he has the key. ultimately, afterwards, after some time, you have received the skills. It was you who put the effort into doing the training, doing the research, doing the work. Ultimately, it was you. But it was him or her that gave you that spark, that gave you that key, that you eventually started doing it. And this is why sometimes you need these people, because they hold the key for you to enter into the next door. They are the gate holders, the gatekeepers. And yes, I can also witness that meanwhile you think that because we are so well connected everywhere in the world, you can access quite a lot of information just by going on Google or on YouTube. Of course, it feels like that you are independent because you have access to the whole world just by sitting at home. Yes, this is a trend. This is a development which is going on now for quite some time and will still go on in the future until it will shift. Until it will shift. And you will realize how much of a fantasy and how much of an illusion it is to think that you can live a life, or that living a life means that you are sitting at the chair, looking at the whole world and being connected with the world through the screen. This is not living a life. This is you are living an illusion in this life. To live a life is you look at your hands, you look at your body, and you go out of the house. You do the steps. You do what makes your body sweat. You breathe in the air. You have physical contact with people. You talk face to face with people. This is living life. The other thing is sad.
Completely agree. And I think we spoke earlier about the idea of the physical demonstrations and how that has so much more resonance and connection when I could see you do that on YouTube, but in person it means so much more. And it's the same with meeting somebody or somebody delivering a message. Like these words that we share today, hopefully they inspire people online, but I think everyone in this room is touched by them that little bit more. So yeah, the idea of the importance of people going out there and finding somebody who they can have that connection with, or they might listen to these videos, but then to take it a step further and find somebody who will be the key for them. Like, how would somebody go about that?
So, the goal, the ultimate goal, let's say, the easiest way for us also, if someone is interested, to share this type of feeling. How does it feel when you finally having this spark of life back into you? The easiest way to transmit this is when you are spending time with someone who has the ability to unlock that fire. So what does it mean? The best would be show up here in the temple, live the life together with us, live the daily structure with us, talk with the people that are here in the monastery. And just immerse yourself in the normal 24 hours in the way how we are living over here. That would be the best case. Now, unfortunately, not everyone has either the spare time to come here, or the priorities are not important enough. And sometimes people also do not have like the financial capacities to come over here. That was the reason why there is so much free content already out there, not just from your channel. We also have like a lot of different platforms where you can access all different types of teaching, no cost at all. So that means there's also no excuse to say that you cannot access these courses. But then afterwards, everything that we share out, the more free suddenly it becomes, I have to say. When you are starting to have free choice, there's an advantage to it, of course, that it doesn't cost you anything. But because it doesn't cost you anything, mostly your understanding of its value is underrated. The practical way just means, let's say you heard somebody saying Qigong training or Kung Fu exercises is good for the body. So now you're going on YouTube and you're putting in Qigong exercise or Kung Fu exercise. What you're going to find is 50 different styles from 50 different masters, from 50 different teachers. And what's going to happen is, day 1, you choose this one. Day 2, because you're not in the mood, the first one you didn't like so much, it was too exhausting, you choose the second style or maybe another teacher. And so what you're ending up with at the end is a patchwork. It's you mix together out of everything that's in a way accessible, but ultimately what comes out is also unstructured. So that means there is a downside as well to everything when you are able to freely choose for yourself what to learn. And this is now why when you are getting involved into no matter which field it is, everyone has his own dedicated system sometimes. Because a systematic approach means that there is a structure behind what needs to be done first in order to allow later methods that they are working. It's very similar, like you cannot do the multiplication if you have not learned before how to add numbers. And therefore, when now somebody says, okay, I have understood it, I got a lot of inspiration from trying out all the different and free videos, let's say. You are under no time pressure at all. You can just watch the videos, but at least stay, let's say, with one teacher. Try out everything that is free. And if then that wish comes up that you would like to go deeper, then you need to take that decision to stick now to one system. And it's absolutely free for everyone to choose. And what we call this type of system is a dedicated program. So the best thing that we could have done in the past, because we had so much, let's say, request for it, is that program that I told you previously about. It's a 12-month course. Every month with a dedicated practice, with a systematic approach that makes you busy from the first year, from the first month until the 12th month. Of course, it's still up to you if you are doing it or not. But for me as a teacher, knowing you are not here directly in my presence, I do not have the chance to come over to you. The free videos are too mixed up for you to properly develop. The best thing I can do for you is I give you a 12-month scheduled training plan. And if you would ask me, from everything that I'm sharing about mindset, sharing about health, sharing about perspective, sharing about the understanding of watching into the world, what needs to be what do you need to let go? All of this together, I tried the best and put it into that course. That's why, for me, that's the way. Either you come here, or you have a glimpse at all the other possibilities that are out there.
talking of free resources, we've seen the content that you put out. You put out a lot of content, even on Shaolin.online. There is at times free resources on there as well, onto the Instagram. But I completely agree. Once you've invested into something, you've given it a value yourself. You've said that you value it, and then you work accordingly. When I went to school, this is a terrible admission of mine, but when I went to school, I received a free education in the UK, like most people did, and I had no value for it. I kind of, unfortunately at the time, I valued my social life a lot more. I didn't value that education, and I didn't pay attention in school, didn't do that great. I paid attention to lessons that I loved, but you know, the ones that I didn't, I had no value invested into it. When I came out of school and I invested into filmmaking courses or whatever it was, even just the simplicity of a book, I was so invested into it. I'd committed to that. I'd purchased that book. I'd invested into it. So there is something to be said for it. But I do like the idea of if anyone is watching this, that you can get a taste for it, but remember that you need to commit to it, whether it is even just your time as well. You need to make some form of investment into it. The bit we were speaking about before this that really interests me is those people that give you that spark. When you're around them, they give you a spark. And I can talk for both of my brothers. I have that feeling with them all the time. If we're working together, creating a project or a film, I know all of us have this feeling of it's a spark. It's really hard to describe that sensation. I have it with a few very close friends of mine as well, and that's why they are very close friends of mine, because they give me that spark. But how would you articulate that to somebody, that feeling? Because I couldn't put it into words myself.
If you're enjoying this video with Master Shi Heng Yi, please head over to MulliganBrothers.com, where you can now buy the Memento Mori posters, a poster to remind you that you are mortal. You shade in a week every single week of your life, and it's a reminder that one day you will die. And if that sounds interesting to you, head to the description down below, use code STOIC for 10% off. And also you can get the Inspire Change t-shirts and the Inspire Change hoodies with the link down below. But before that, let's dive back into the video.
So, when you are meeting a person, for example, and it feels to you that actually for you it matters what that person says, yeah, it's already like an indication there is something to be learned maybe. You realize even more when that person starts to talk a truth, and you feel that that truth, even if it's an open critic, was somehow meant for you. Then you also know, okay. So there are like small hints when you feel somebody is able to make you move inside there, then that person apparently has some type of power over you. And then it becomes interesting to figure out who is that person. How come he is able to, and the thing is, he knows. He knows that he can do that with you. And that's, for example, like small indications how you realize there are powerful people out there. And if I meet someone like this, I want to know how they do it. Or at the same time, I also want to know by myself, how can it be if, like, let's say you are regarding yourself already as being confident, as being strong, as being unshakable, let's say. How can it be somebody shakes you right now? So this is a type of where you learn there something gets triggered inside of you. That fire of finding out. Yes. And yes, it's really difficult to explain, as you said before. But if you just pay a little bit more attention, and this is the whole idea, that in the practices that we do, the first one, like I also mentioned before, it's about opening. Opening the mind, opening the body, opening the senses, opening your awareness. Why? Because with awareness, everything starts. I need to be aware how many people are in this room. Then I can tell you how many people are in this room. I need to be aware he or she just said something. I think it was meant for me. You need to be aware of this. You need to be aware. All the time I was actually feeling quite comfortable and peace, but in the moment where he or she started to open his mouth, I felt I'm starting to move something inside of me. So it's awareness that opens possibilities up for you. It's the awareness to realize there's the chance right now, go for it. And this is why the beginning, this awareness is a very, very important aspect. And yes, because like I said, sometimes you are finding yourself in the period where you receive a lot of chances, a lot of possibilities. Sometimes you're in the time slot, you're in the time frame, no possibilities there. Just waiting and be happy about what you have. But sometimes those periods come where the possibilities start to add up. And then I think it is important to realize and become aware of them. To be able and take that decision. Are you going to go for it or not? Yeah, but being asleep all the time is difficult. Yeah, and that is the reason you don't want to sleep right now. You want to be awake. You want to be awake and you want to be clear. Being awake and clear. Now your life is in your hands. Being numb, being under drugs, being I don't know, being smoky in the head, I don't know how to say, is difficult. Be awake and be clear. And then fill up your energy tank.
I love it, and when you're describing that was a very good description of how it feels. You know, the intuition to go, I'm listening to this person. And the funny thing was for me, especially with my brothers and a couple of my friends, is a criticism from them. I'm interested, and it means something to me to hear that. And you know, fortunately for me, or maybe I don't know how many people normally have in this situation, but I have around my three brothers, my sister, and a couple friends. It's very tight, the group of people who I consider who give me that. But I feel very fortunate that I have that, and I feel it's quite sad because I think a lot of people go through life without having that at all, or they don't think it's necessary. But yeah, the way you've articulated that was fantastic. I hope people listen to that and maybe notice that there are certain people around them that maybe they should gravitate themselves towards a lot more as well. Last year we released a video with the title Unshakable. It performed really well, and I think to hear your take on that a little bit more as well. I think a lot of people were talking about living in a chaotic world or being around chaos, and that video for me, or the word unshakable, is something that I think people should strive for if they feel that they're in this chaos or in a chaotic world, or there's so much noise going on around them. But again, just to hear more words on becoming unshakable.
Let's just jump into another way of how in this monastery we sometimes are expressing a certain feeling. If you are entering into this room without any self-confidence, without actually knowing where to go, where to sit, what are you supposed to do? If you don't know it, the rest of us inside this room right now, we're going to tell you. Why are we going to tell you? Why are we going to determine what you are supposed to do? Because our expression, our confidence, and our energy is stronger, and therefore is easy to penetrate into your field of energy, which is not there if you have a low energy field. If you are, let's say, if it's not developed. Sometimes you walk into a bar, you walk through the street, you walk anywhere. Sometimes you feel that person over there is different already, is expressing something differently. Sometimes you say it's confidence, sometimes maybe you say it's arrogance, but sometimes it's also something dangerous. No matter what, but you are sensing something. And so the point is, number one, in the moment where we become more aware, it doesn't only mean you become more aware of other people's field of expression, but you will automatically also start to become aware what type of energy are you expressing. And in order to not let your world being influenced too much by the outside circumstances, there is only one way, or let's say two ways. Either you find a shield that blocks everything that from the out world is trying to penetrate you. Either you have some type of a shield that can protect you from incoming influences, that just, boom, shuts you down. Or your own energy field, your own expression, your own aura, let's say, is strong enough that nothing just penetrates it. That if something has an influence, then it is you on others. But how do you do this? And this is that expression. What does it mean to become unshakable? That you want to develop yourself in such a way that you can be the rock for others where people are going to hold on to. Not the other way around. You don't want people playing around with you and you yourself don't know where are they pushing me, where am I moving. This is you're shakeable. This is you're movable. But you are in peace with yourself. You are in peace with your life mission. You are in peace with the way how you are talking, how you are behaving, what your contribution is to the world. You are in peace with how people see you. Then I think you automatically, slowly start to emanate something where you already know when you're meeting someone, okay, better don't start any trouble with him. You don't do it. You know it already. And so that means sometimes there are these type of areas where it's not about speaking anymore. It's about somebody enters the room and you know already. If it is somebody you would like to cope with or somebody you maybe not would like to cope with. And similar to this type of energy expression, this is what makes you not move. So unshakable, meaning you have found a way to be in peace with yourself, the way how you are. You can take critics, you can take compliments, also important. Unshakable doesn't only mean you are okay when somebody criticizes you, that you are able to live with criticism. Unshakable also means you are very aware that if somebody gives you a compliment, you also don't use it to fuel up your ego. Because this is just the other direction. One tries to pull you down, and the other one tries to raise you up more than you are. Both of it you don't do. Why? Because you have found yourself already. There is nothing that can be taken away from you. No dignity can be taken away from you. No pride can be taken away from you. And at the same time, there is nothing that can be added to you. Doesn't matter how much honey they give you. There is nothing to be added. There is nothing to be taken away. You are full and complete the way how you perceive yourself. And then I think this is a mental state, a mindset, a way of living that not just reduces a lot of problems when you are confronted with a society, but also for yourself. It's healthy. Why? Because you're in peace. So becoming unshakable, being unshakable, for me is just the other expression of you know what is balance. You are able to tap into that harmonic state that you can cultivate, which is peace. You're in peace. Because peace, no matter what you do, peace is peace. You can push it, it's still peace. You can pull it, it's still peace. It doesn't change just because other people try to adjust something. Yes.
You just mentioned that like an energy field or energy, and I think last time we spoke about some people have the energy of a wolf, some people have the energy of a sheep, and some of the energy you're talking about there has a heavier influence than other energy, or maybe a different influence. But one thing that comes up quite a lot is the idea of alpha, like an alpha energy. Does that have connection to what we're talking about in terms of having a heavier influence on people?
I do think that there are connections, yeah, in the way how you behave, in the way what you have cultivated yourself, but also, for example, what we talked before about how do you bring out masculine attributes. I do think that there is something in relation to these type of thought patterns that we talked before. But at the same time, the truth also is not everybody wants to be a wolf. Not everybody feels well to be the alpha. Because yes, it has advantages to be the alpha, but sometimes it also means as the alpha, you have responsibilities. If you cannot cope with those responsibilities, stop looking to become the alpha if you only want to choose half of it, what means to be an alpha. You want to have the advantages that go hand in hand with it? No, it's not working like this. You have to take the full package. And that means leadership position 1, responsibility 2. Just as it is with the family. But now we are not animals, now we are talking about humans. There are humans following you. There are humans listening to your advice. It's a very bad thing to use this type of influence on people and your intentions are not right. Yes.
Another thing that I think the acceptance of responsibility, but I think another tough truth that people forget about is the need for discipline, and we see it a lot here. Very, very disciplined with a lot of people here. The need for discipline, the absence of it, I guess, as well, in a lot of maybe modern ways, maybe not even modern teachings, but modern ways, the absence of discipline. How important is it to have discipline How can we become more disciplined if we fell off and we don't, or maybe never had any kind of discipline?
So, in the way how we talked before, when a disciple, for example, comes to join this monastery, there are so-called 14 virtues within the Shaolin Temple. Those 14 virtues, I try to make it simple, are separated into virtues that we are expecting people to have when they arrive here, and the group of virtues that can be learned. So, expected virtues and virtues to be learned. The ones to be learned, of course, that means during the stay of being here, they are slowly being introduced into these type of virtues. But there are some of these virtues, let's say, that from our side as an organization, we want them that they have it already to a certain extent in the moment where they come here. And amongst one of them is discipline. And the reason why is simply like this. I think the human is able to develop and learn so many different things when the willingness is there. When you are willing to learn. You are willing to learn, and afterwards you put that willingness into a form. Willingness into a form means you make a plan. A simple daily plan. Tomorrow I'm dedicating 5 minutes to practice it. The day after, another 5 minutes. After that week, 10 minutes every day. And this you keep, no matter what, no excuse. Everyone is old enough to make a plan where you can put 5 minutes into your daily schedule that is just unchanged for the next month. I don't see a problem with this. But sometimes we're too compulsive. Sometimes you do have a plan. But then somebody calls you, you receive a message, something comes in between, and suddenly the plan is gone. If you have this type of commitment, why would you even call it commitment? It's called commitment because the commitment itself already knows. The human is used to fly around. The human mind is not made to stay at one place at one time. The commitment knows it. That's why we give it. This is why we say, okay, I commit to it. Because I know that hard times will come, that I will find excuses why not to make it, that I will have days I'm not in the mood to practice it. I know these times are going to come, but this is why you do the commitment. Just very similar, like you're committing to marry your wife. If everybody would know, no, let's say differently. I think everybody knows that a marriage, a partnership, is not just about upsides. It's about the wave of up and down. And because you have the waves of up and down, because you know it's not always gonna be beautiful, it's not always gonna be red and pink. That's why you give a commitment. That no matter what, there is something bigger than the small issues that sometimes pop up in the partnership. And only then, if your mindset is so far that you are telling to yourself, yes, I'm able to give this commitment. This is so important to me, it has such a priority for me that I know there will be hard times, I know what is involved with it, then now I give the commitment. Then there is no way out anymore. The difference, the problem nowadays is those commitments that are being given sometimes just don't mean anything. We know the stories how it is in the past if you make contracts, if you give a commitment even just by word and afterwards you break it. You break your promise, somebody breaks you, finished. Why? Because a man that you can't trust his words, something's wrong. Something initially as being a man is wrong. So, and this is where I think things are going hand in hand. So once you really commit, and also commit to a certain type of practice, that means you need to bring out that discipline. It is that discipline that is fueling up this drive. Because we know that it's not easy. But no pain, no gain. Not even coming from the Shaolin Temple. Worldwide known, that sentence. But it's like this. I can only give the pain to others that I have received already. My bones can only be as hard as I have hit whatever was hard like that. And so that means take it as a challenge. Everything that hurts you, find a way to overcome it. Everything that you feel is difficult for you, find a way to still do it. As long as you can do the things, stop listening to the mind. It's like also in the morning, at least for me it is similar like this. When I'm lying in the bed and the alarm goes on, for example, if I'm trying to convince myself, come, just 5 more minutes, that's a bad idea. Yeah, so that's why I really got used to it rings and then it's really like in a way I try to get out of bed as quick as possible. Then it's done. But in the moment where I start to get comfortable again, it becomes just more difficult. It's because that mind always wants to trick you and test you and challenge you if there's not something that he can still like readjust you. No, but discipline in a way really means it rings, wake up. Because that feeling of not wanting to wake up, that feeling of, but it's hard, I'm tired, whatever, it will pass after some time. And there is no other way than just learning to get over things like this. That's it. We all have it here. It's just that we also know there is a price if you don't do it, and there's a price if you do it. And it's just up to you to decide which of those two paths of development would you like to be in.
The quote there, everything that hurts you, overcome it. And for me, the lesson from it as well, my experience is that my hardest times in life were the ones that I learned the most, were the biggest lessons by far. And it's hard to explain that to somebody, especially when they're in the moment. And I really do feel that with mental health, and I wanted to obviously ask you a question about mental health, we spoke about this before. With mental health, if people knew that lesson, I think it helps so much, because the anxiety and the difficulty when you're going through something is the not knowing that it's going to be okay, the not knowing that there is lessons here, and that one day you'll look back and you'll see the silver lining. Yeah, I mean, let's just go over mental health. I mean, for me, that's a huge, what we've just spoke about. For me, I would like people to know that I really feel that's a massive factor into developing good mental health. But I know you've probably got so many more teachings and lessons.
Yes, when it comes to like mental health also, I think there's something that many people nowadays also, there's something that maybe happened in their past, which either is related to a mistake a person made by himself, or sometimes it's related with another person, that another person did something to you. Very rationally looking at this means, so right now you are not feeling well, you are suffering, you are not sleeping well, you are not in the mood to do anything. Why? Because there is something still blocked inside of you that continuously every day and every night is sucking your energy, because you continuously think about it, turn it around and think about why it happened. Yes, and we're 8 billion people in this world, and I'm sure everybody would find something and that fits into this type of explanation of a situation. Sometimes unfair people treat you in a way that feels very unfair to you, and it is stuck inside of yourself. And sometimes you are taking decisions and something goes wrong and you are blaming yourself at the same time. But there is that saying afterwards, everybody's more intelligent. But now there are people that went through these type of situations but found a way to move on. What did they do? And once again, we're ending at the point that there is something we need to learn, that we need to add into our personal toolbox. And that one is to learn what it means to let go of something. To let go that you are blaming yourself is, for example, with the story of Confucius. Everybody is walking through this lifetime making faulty actions. Making it faulty or making it wrong the first time is not a problem, because you must have made it wrong in order now to rethink, to become more intelligent and figure out the solution. It only then becomes a mistake if you continuously do it wrong over and over again without taking the past into consideration, what happened before, and repeat that mistake. This is the real mistake. But without any experience in a certain field, how could you know better what decision to take? So in a way, what I'm saying is, there is no reason to blame yourself. Especially not if sometimes these decisions were first-time decisions, where you just had no experience before. But this is the whole point, why it's important to sometimes be faced with different challenges, with different problematic situations, for you to turn on the intelligence and find a solution. But if after the first time you're already giving up, then there's no outcome. Then there's nothing that you have learned. The only thing that you are remaining right now is regret and sorrow, which is neither going to bring you forward nor anything else, because you have not understood the message yet, why you ended up in that situation. You need to overcome it. Your next level of development comes in the moment where level 1 is solved. You found a solution for level 1. Now, challenge number 2. Next level. As long as you don't find the key for level number 2, stay there. Many years, repeating over and over again until you see it. And this is like the way now how it can maybe help if that mistake was up to your own, let's say, behavior. And the second way that maybe helps is to just understand, just like the tea before, you do not know where people come from. You do not know through what type of situations other people went through. Sometimes external people are overwhelmed with their own life, which is why not always is in their own control. And this is why sometimes people talk things that they don't mean like that. And why sometimes people do things without knowing the consequence of it. And so instead of blaming them also for it, it can help if you just understand and try to project it at least as good as you can towards them, that you feel compassion for them. Because he or she is the same like you. The situation is just different. The circumstances are just different. But if somebody is full and filled, if I'm complete, where the hell should I come up with the idea of causing you suffering? The only reason I would ever come up with something like this is because I'm unhappy with something about my life itself. I'm missing something. I haven't found myself. I'm not complete. That's why I start blaming other ones. That you are all responsible why I have this stupid job whatsoever. Then it's always easy. But why? Because I have the unhappiness. I'm unhappy. That's why I want the world to know I'm unhappy. That's not something to blame. This is a personality to have pity for. This is a personality to wish him, hopefully he will find his peace one day. And of course, some people will say there are things that can never be forgiven. Number 1, they will be forgiven. And number 2, this statement, it's only going to make your life harder. Because the person who caused the trouble to you, maybe he's right now even lying somewhere in Hawaii, having a great time. He did that mistake that you suffered, but you are the one right now still sitting here not forgiving, suffering, while he is enjoying his party. Something's wrong about that view. If he made the mistake, he should be the one suffering, but not you. So what does it mean if you don't find a way to let it go? It remains with you and you suffer with it. It's your choice. What is the alternative? Revenge is another field. But revenge is not gonna recreate balance. Why? Because at least in our tradition we say, nowhere in this whole world did hate ever ended hate. Somebody hates you, you hate back, it's not gonna end it. Nowhere. Hate is never the solution for hate. Now it sounds so fluffy, but just like the Buddha said, there's only one reason, one way how to end the hate. By its counterpart, by understanding. Hate wants to separate. Hate wants to cut off. The opposite of it is you have the force, you want to combine, you want to connect. And it's the harder way of having compassion with a person that gives you hate, and it's even harder to even start to develop the feeling of love towards that person. That's why we call it is a practice.
Thank you so much for today. I think I could talk to hours as always, but we have more time in the future, so I feel like we can pick up on some of these talking points again. But this conversation has been amazing. I hope everybody gained something from it. I personally have taken a lot from this conversation, so it's been fantastic. Thank you as always.
Very happy to hear, and you're welcome.
And what a wonderful conversation with Master Shi Heng Yi. This was one of those moments for me that I'll cherish forever, because it really did open my mind. There were so many different discussions, so many different topics. You guys may know, if you've been following us on Instagram, there's been over 150 million views on the little clips from this video. So if you want to, you can follow us on Instagram and at Jordan Mulligan Brothers, at MulliganBrothers. But 150 million have seen these teachings so far, and it's because there was so much value in this one conversation. We had 6 conversations. So please, if you want to see those over the next coming months, hit the notification, hit the subscribe button, become a channel member if you want to as well, to see behind the scenes. But the content from Master Shi Heng Yi has been unbelievable, and we are planning to do some work in the future as well. So thank you so much to Master Shi Heng Yi. Thank you so much to Shaolin Temple Europe. You can support them at shaolin.online as well. For me, going to the Shaolin Temple was a huge eye-opener. The documentary that we created, Who is Shi Heng Yi, is on the main channel as well. And all of it was made possible at MulliganBrothers.com. You know, to get our film crew, to get our cinema cameras, to get our lighting rigs, we had to drive from the UK all the way across Europe to Germany with our production crew to film these projects. And that's how we do all of our projects. We either fly around the world or drive around the world. And it's made possible at MulliganBrothers.com. The people who support us there, who are buying the Inspire Change t-shirts, who are being part of the movement with the hoodies, the new Momentum Mori poster, a reminder that you are going to die, is one of the best posters and success tools that I've ever used. The journal, the Not a Journal, all those things, literally the money from that goes back into creating this content. So I cannot thank you guys enough. Inspired Change is a movement. It is something that we are so passionate about. We pour our heart and soul into it. It means everything to us. And without your guys' support at MulliganBrothers.com, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough. And everyone who's become a channel member as well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And keep your eyes peeled for more. This year is the biggest year. We have 52 interviews lined up with spiritual leaders, entrepreneurs, motivational speakers, athletes, and so much more. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.